thank you very much, John Ng, for being with us. I know you are the president and CEO of Maison Placement Canada, and it's so nice to have you here. So since we're having a conversation on Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies, before we get into the nitty-gritty details of it, recently Ms. Shedlock had observed that there might be a looming financial crisis or a currency war that is going to happen. What are your thoughts towards that? And do you feel that it could happen, and what time frame do you see it happening in?
Well, there's no question that we are not at the beginning, but in the midst of a currency war. 19 central banks have already reduced interest rates, and of course, that's caused a drop in their currencies. Sweden is the latest. The reality is that the only country that has not joined the currency war yet is the United States. That is to come. So our expectation is that we are really towards the middle of this currency war. This will have a beneficial impact on hard assets, everything but the dollar.
Assuming that there might be a currency war or crisis that occurs in the near future, would you see governments reforming to use IMF currency like SDRs as a form of fiat currency?
Governments today already use SDRs in exchange when they exchange between themselves. SDRs have a role. The trouble with the IMF is controlled by Western institutions. The Asians very much are setting up parallel institutions, and my belief is that the Asians were knocking on the doors. They were rebuffed by the West and told, no, you can join, but you can't have the same amount of votes. And the reality is that they're going to write a check. They want the equal amount of votes. So the problem is that they have set up parallel institutions, and in fact, I can see down the road where we're going to have a dollar block, we're going to have a renminbi block, we're going to have probably a petrol currency block. We are going away from just depending on the US dollar. And my sense is that that's the first step towards having some sort of gold backing for a currency.
And now moving towards Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies, what are your thoughts on Bitcoins and the role that it plays in our current financial economic system?
The problem is that there is no value, or there's questionable value in the dollar today. So investors are looking at other alternatives. They're looking at gold, they're looking at silver, they're looking at classic cars. Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies are something of the where the technology has resulted in alternative value. And that's the key here, is that there is the technology today for alternative stores of values, and that is the attraction of Bitcoin.
And now, so moving on to the attractions and the appeals towards Bitcoins, what are some specific factors that you think are part and parcel of Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies? And as opposed to that, what are some maybe limitations or drawbacks?
Well, the biggest question mark about Bitcoins or any store of value is the trust, the credibility behind it. And the reality is for Bitcoins is that it's been almost like a roller coaster ride. And you just can't deal with just everybody with a suitcase. The reality is that technology is involved, for capital is involved. There is going to be a need for searching out who are the better people to deal with. That's the biggest problem with Bitcoin today, is it's not that you can go to your corner bank, so to speak, and buy Bitcoin, but you can go to your laptop and deal with certain reputable players.
So now they're saying that Bitcoin is very similar to gold in the sense that there's a finite amount of production that's going to be produced of Bitcoin. What are your opinions or thoughts towards kind of using Bitcoin as a form of trading or commodity banking, kind of marrying the concept with gold perhaps? Is this a possibility?
It would make sense to have Bitcoin linked to the gold price. Then you could have a debenture or something like that with a linkage. There is none of that rate today. In addition, there is the technical problem of linking something like gold, which trades constantly and 24 hours 7 with Bitcoin, and if there is a need for to redemption and that's something that even the gold players are having difficulty. My expectation is gold is a finite. There's just so much gold in the world. We can fit it all on a football field. And really what happens is that gold is the central banks are the biggest holders at 30,000 tons, but really it's the man, the lady in the street who have the power of gold. in my expectations, where central banks are buying more gold today, the investor is now buying gold as a hedge against dollar uncertainty, against possibly inflation in other countries, against the demise of some banks. The best gold is the gold in the ground. Some of these gold miners they're being beaten up, they've been bashed, and the cheapest gold around the world is in those reserves.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us on Cliff Notes. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a lovely day.